Democrats in Congress are requesting documents from more than 70 individuals and organizations connected to the Trump administration. The House Judiciary Committee is investigating possible crimes the president may have committed both before and after he was elected. The committee's chairman, Congressman Jerry Nadler, said yesterday it's, quote, very clear the president obstructed justice. Well, in a statement today, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders wrote, the House Judiciary Committee's letter has been received by the White House. The counsel's office and relevant White House officials will review it and respond at the appropriate time. So Nancy Cortez is on Capitol Hill and has the very latest on this news for us. So Nancy, there are a handful of names on the list that we expect to see, including Donald Trump Jr. and also the chief financial officer for the Trump Organization, Allen Weisselberg, who we already know has a deal hammered out with the Southern District. So he's already cooperating. Who else are Democrats pursuing in this investigation, and what specifically will they be looking for in terms of documents?
Well, Anne-Marie, just think about anyone you know in Trump world, any bold-faced name, and they are probably on this enormous list. I'm talking about Corey Lewandowski, who served as the head of the Trump campaign for a while. Of course, you've got the president's children, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, Don McGahn, the former White House counsel, Carter Page, who has also gotten tied up in this investigation time and time again, a foreign policy advisor to the president during the campaign, and on and on. People from the president's business ties, people in his family, people who work closely with him in the White House and in the administration more broadly. They are all getting these letters today asking for a slew of documents that include financial documents, Anne-Marie, emails, meeting notes, memos pertaining to a very wide range of topics. This is sort of the opening salvo, if you will, by the new democratically controlled House Judiciary Committee, a very powerful committee run by Gerald Nadler of New York, a Democrat, who has really spent the past couple of months getting his ducks in a row, staffing up, and then trying to figure out exactly what it is that Democrats want to investigate on this committee now that they control it and have subpoena power.
You know, when we were listening to Michael Cohen's testimony and he started naming names of witnesses, I thought those people are going to be receiving a phone call or a letter for sure. And, you know, I think amongst the many people that Michael Cohen had brought up in his testimony was, I think, maybe the president's secretary. When we're talking about 70 or so people, some of those people are going to have deep pockets. Others will not. If you are on this list and you, receive a request for documents, what comes next for you?
Right, and they're not giving people much time to comply with this request, just a couple of weeks. And counsel for the House Judiciary Committee tell us that that's because a lot of people on this list, A, had already gotten a phone call, either they or their lawyers had heard from the committee, so they knew this request was coming. And B, they say in this initial document request, they are only asking these individuals to hand over documents that they've already given to other investigators, either in the Southern District of New York or the special counsel or investigators here on Capitol Hill who are part of other committees. So they say that this shouldn't be too difficult for all of these individuals to comply with. Now, there's a big difference between giving documents, if you're someone in Trump's inner circle, to the special counsel than giving it to a democratically led committee, especially if you're worried that these documents might end up getting used for political purposes. So there's going to be a lot of negotiation that goes on. The committee knows that, and that's why lawyers for the committee were telling us this morning that it's not as if, once that 2-week time span is up, people are going to get slapped with subpoenas right away. They're going to give them time to comply. They're going to negotiate with them. But basically what they're going to do with all this material, Anne-Marie, is then figure out where they want to drill down. What exactly do they want to investigate? And what they're telling us is that the themes that they're they're investigating really fall into three main buckets. One of them, obstruction of justice. Has the president interfered with investigations since he took office? Number two, public corruption. Is he violating the emoluments clause? Is he benefiting personally from his official public position? And then number three, abuse of power. Is he using his office to attack the press, to attack judges? Is he misusing pardon power? So basically, this is this opening salvo is meant to just kind of gather up all the documents that have already been flying around, put them in one place for this particular committee, the House Judiciary Committee, and then decide how do they drill down, what are the most fruitful investigations from their point of view.
So Chairman Nadler seems to think there's a sort of clear case of presidential obstruction of justice. That's what at least he said. But, it's really interesting that the Judiciary Committee and an investigation by the Judiciary Committee can often hint at sort of the first steps down the road to impeachment. But Democrats have really shied away from that. I think, Nancy Pelosi has been asked a few times about impeachment. She doesn't even want to answer that question. So what's your take on this strategy?
Well, what they're saying is that there are a whole host of issues out there that deserve investigation, even if they don't necessarily rise to the level of a criminal charge leveled by the special counsel. So they say there's a whole swath of issues that are ripe for investigation that aren't necessarily being tackled by the special counsel's office or the Southern District of New York, and they think that those problems are important to drill down on nonetheless, because if, for instance, they are able to find examples of times that the president has abused his power, then they can highlight those times, both in the court of public opinion. They can even hold a vote on ways to tie the president's hands, even before you get to a discussion of impeachment. So it is not necessarily the case that if they find examples of wrongdoing, that immediately, they jump to impeachment proceedings. However, it is lost on no one that this is the committee that would be responsible if impeachment proceedings were initiated. So everyone always wants to know, what is Chairman Nadler's definition of an impeachable offense? Under what conditions would he pursue impeachment? And he's been pretty consistent, Anne-Marie, that not only would he need to find evidence of impeachable offenses, because as you pointed out, he seems to be pretty convinced already that there have been impeachable offenses that have taken place, but has he been able to convince Republicans in the House, in the Senate, that these impeachable offenses have taken place? And no matter what this committee finds, it may take the special counsel basically leveling charges at the president for that to happen. No one really knows what those conditions would be, but everyone on the Democratic side, from Nancy Pelosi on down, well, let me caveat, not everyone, but most members of leadership in the Democratic Party believe that impeachment is a last resort, something that would be initiated only if they had buy-in from the other side, that very serious crimes or wrongdoing had taken place on the part of the president.
Yeah, it's one thing to say it. It's an entirely different thing to be able to prove it. Nancy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.